Hello, it's Joanne here from joanneearns.com, and I'm delighted that you're joining us for the Business and Babies interview. Today we have gorgeous Jessica Fearnley from the UK, who's going to be talking to us about her business. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to hear so much more about what you do. We've, sorted a few things already, but yeah, I'd love to hear about your business, how you got started, and what you do exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure.
So my business is, I'm a business coach. I work with female entrepreneurs who are looking for more time freedom to make more money from their business and to work with better clients. And I do that completely online. So when I started my business, I worked with people offline. I would go to their office and work with them there often. But over the last few years, I've transitioned to have a fully online business.
Cool. That's awesome. And how did you get started? What was the background that kind of led you into that?
Well, it's linked to having kids, really. So I've had quite a long journey through finding a business because I went through burnout quite seriously about 8 years ago. Right. And that really woke me up to a few kind of things in my life, just really that I was constantly trying to do life in a way that didn't really work. And I got into a state where I was just really, really exhausted. And so I'd been doing a corporate 9-to-5 job in the centre of London. And in lots of ways, my life was everything I wanted it to be. But my health just was not good. And it just became obvious that if I wanted to have a better health, well, a better relationship with my body, really, I needed to just do life completely differently. So I worked part-time for a few years, and I started working for a consultancy firm. It was a startup company, and really came on board to help them grow that business, which we did. So when I came on board in about 2011, it was just turning 6 figures, and we grew it to a 7-figure business by 2014, which was such a fantastic thing to be involved in. But I went on maternity leave in 2014. My first son was born. And I think I just had that moment that lots of women do, where you do the sums and you kind of think going back to work will mean I'm doing this many hours, and childcare costs this much, and the commute takes this many hours, and the numbers just didn't feel like they were going to add up to quality of life for any of us in the family. Yeah, and so I just thought, I don't want to spend. I think it was something like I wouldn't have seen my son awake between Sunday night and Wednesday night. And I just kind of thought, for the money that's left over afterwards, I'd really rather do something else. And so from there, I guess the question in my mind started to form, like, what do I want to do? Because I tried being a stay-at-home mum for a little bit on maternity leave and found that kind of a little bit unfulfilling, a little bit frustrating, not really what I expected. So it led me to this question of, like, I've got this skill set. I like to grow businesses. What context could I do that in? And I remember actually saying to a friend, maybe I should just work for like a sandwich shop. I should just go and find like a local business and help them make it like the best sandwich shop in the world while I'm just buttering bread. And she just said to me, don't like limit yourself like that. Don't kind of work for one place. Why don't you just become a business coach and help lots of different small businesses with the skill set that you have that they need? Why don't you turn that into a business? And at the time I was just like, I can't do that. You don't understand. But that is actually kind of how it's gone. So I took on a couple of clients while I was still on maternity leave just to try it out and see if it felt like a good fit. And from there, my whole business has really evolved over the last 3.5 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it sounds like a very wise friend who pointed that out to you. And often we can't see that ourselves, which is the fascinating thing, isn't it?
Definitely.
And you just got one son? You have other kids now? Or?
So I now have 2 sons. So my second baby was born last year. So I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Wow. Gosh, that must be quite a handful.
Yeah, it's quite loud in our house.
Yeah, indeed. So how does it kind of work for you guys, like just juggling the family and the business? Like, how do you, we talk about like hashtag nap time hustle of women who are just trying to, and I did that. My son was newborn, like doing work simply when he napped and sometimes in the evenings. Did that for quite a while. Is that how you work it, or do you have childcare, or do you are you one of these magical mums that manages to multitask? Like
No,
at the same time.
so much not.
I like to separate them, I must admit.
Yeah, and I have to say, for me, it's all about the compartments. So I've actually gone through the summer this year without childcare, which was not really planned because our nursery that both our boys have been at had to close down because they lost the use of their building, and the landlord decided to sell the site, so they just had to close it all down. They couldn't find somewhere else. So having gone through a 7-week summer, which I was not really expecting to do without childcare, and I wouldn't have had them in all the time, but I was thinking definitely 1, maybe 2 days a week would just really help. I think it really opened my eyes anew to how much I don't like to work like that. And I know that people can be so resourceful, and some people love to work with their kids around, but I find if I do that, then I'm not really giving my clients everything, and I'm not really giving my kids everything either. And so I like to be in a mode where I don't have like a million things going on at once. I can focus 100% on what I'm doing, and so I don't feel the mum guilt of like, oh, the kids have just asked me for another drink and I've said I'll do it in 5 minutes and I've forgotten about it. Or I'm not, thinking these clients are paying to work with me and I'm not doing them a proper job because I'm just too spread thinly. So it's really important for me to try and have that. So I feel like sometimes I have the best of both worlds because I work at the moment. I have 3 days a week where both kids are either at school or at nursery. And so those are my working days. And then the other 2 days in the week I get to be a mum. So me and the baby hang out. I take him to toddler groups and, just walk around with the pushchair and feel like quite a normal stay-at-home mum. So it works out really nicely like that. Actually, I'm really thankful that I'm able to sort of have that blend in a way, but just have quite separate times where it's all about the kids or it's all about work.
Yeah, and 3 days is a good chunk of time to actually just focus on your business as well, isn't it? Without feeling too torn, like not enough time to do what you need to do. And so if you think about your typical work day, how do you tend to, what does it actually look like for you? Do you spend a lot of time on the phone with clients? I imagine you probably do. Are you creating a lot of content, or just how's your average kind of work day, if there is such a thing as average?
Well, so I have my 3 days in the week that I use, and I like to again have compartments with those. So on a Monday, that's when I'll often do recordings for my podcast or interview other people for the podcast. Cool. Or be a guest on other people's. That works really nicely often to separate that time off. And then on a Wednesday, I see clients for one program, and on a Friday, I see clients for another that I'm running. So that works quite nicely. And there's flexibility between the two. So sometimes if I can't get all my Friday clients in, then they might see them on another day or something like that. But generally, I'm trying at the moment to get my team a lot more involved. So I've had them on board since about February. I've got a virtual assistant team. Cool. It really helped me with a lot of stuff. But it's actually been quite embarrassing. I've written a list of all the stuff that I've been doing so I can start to delegate more to them, and just realizing how much I'm doing myself. Like I edit my own podcast and I do all of my social media updates, and I'm definitely at that point where I'm ready to start handing that over to them. And it feels quite ridiculous that I'm holding on to a lot of this stuff. So I've just taken on a copywriter as well, and someone's helping me with graphic design for a new project that I'm doing. So it's gone from being just me, all about the stuff that I do, to really me having to plan ahead and be quite organized with things, because you can get away with just deciding to launch something tomorrow when it's just you.
Yeah, if you just winging it yourself, but when there's a whole team of people to coordinate,
exactly. And I'm having to have certain content in place so that my copywriter can go in and work some things up. And that's actually really good for me, but it's a stretch. So it's starting to use that time really, really wisely and actually get the team involved rather than just having the short-term fix of me being like, oh, I'll just stay up this evening, it's fine, I'll do it. I think it's leading to good things, but it's
next level, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So it's great to have that opportunity.
Yeah. And do you have like weekly team meetings and stuff?
At the moment, we do everything using Trello and Google Documents because everyone is remote. And so, we're at our desk when we're there, and then a lot of the time we're not. So it's making the most of all that communication backwards and forwards. And I think that's good. It's me having to learn to make decisions quickly. Like one of the things that I noticed when I started using the VAs back in February was just normally it'd take me about 3 weeks to do something, and I would I'd have my Monday and I'd have my Wednesday and my Friday, and so I'd have quite a lot of time to think about stuff. So I'd finish doing it on the Monday and then pick it up again on Wednesday, whereas with the team they'd suddenly do like 3 days work in one day for me, and so I'd be like, I'm not ready to make another decision. I thought I'd have so it's speeding up that whole process. But I think it's been so good for me, and it helps me kind of visualize what's going on in my business a bit better, and then it's not all about me doing the late nights. So it's definitely it's good skills to learn. But I think it's same with the kids really. So I've always felt like I wanted other people to be involved. My husband is really, really involved in like almost co-parenting, because actually we feel like it's really important for us to be as involved as each other. So he will often get the kids up and take them to school in the morning. I pick them up in the afternoon, and we try and split stuff between us like that, so that they get time with both of us, but also so that it's not just one parent knows how to do everything and the other one is like, oh, how do you use the washing machine? Like, what time does the kids have to be picked up? You know, all these kinds of things. We try and make it so that if one of us is ill or if one of us has to work, then we cover each other in that way.
Yeah, the other one can just pick it up. Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting, actually, just because we're doing like an overview chat of like when you started and you couldn't imagine yourself even doing like the coaching and all of that, and now where you're at a place where you're doing so much online and actually starting to get into that nice leveraged model where you've got a team helping you out as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and it has had a really big impact on me. So when my second son was born, I wanted to do everything completely differently. So I didn't actually take maternity leave, even though, you know, that's a big thing for women in the UK. We're entitled to it, which is a wonderful thing. But, you know, the pay isn't great even when you're on maternity leave. And I just thought, I reckon even if I just scaled my business down, I could earn equivalent to that and not have to be on maternity leave and sort of park my life and say, now I've had a baby, I don't get to do what I like to do for 9 months. I just really wanted to retain that sense of this is who I am as a person. So that's actually not going to change. I have a small baby at the moment, but, you know, he can just kind of come along for the ride.
I don't know about you, but when I had my first child, I mean, she's 15 now, and then I've got a 3.5-year-old. But when I had my first baby, those newborn days seemed so hectic and so full and crazy busy. But then once the second one came along, you're like, I know this is the easy time. This is the easy time. Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it at the time. But you actually do have more time because they sleep so much when they're newborn. I mean, as long as you're kind of healthy and well and recovering, I think there's no reason why.
And I think once you have the routine going for one child, then, I mean, it depends. It depends. You can add in another one. And we were very lucky because we had our complicated child the first time round. So then our second one has been so easy in comparison, because you don't really know until you have your second what your first was like, do you? And I was, you know, I was fully prepared. I don't know if I could have done my business as much if I'd have had my first child second, if that makes sense, because he just, he's always been like a 2 adult child, whereas my second is sort of like a 0.5 adult child. You can, for quite a long time, you know, even when he was 4 months old, I'd be like, where is the baby? Oh, he's asleep over there. Gosh, I forgot I had him. I did have him.
Just so quiet.
Yeah, he's been, you know, such a sunny little character and really just really taken to family life really nicely. So
you've obviously got a peaceful environment there and he's just happy.
Yeah, I think he's got the older brother to watch and learn from. And so actually, I think it's been really good for him to be a second sibling, not the eldest. I think maybe he would have been way more bored if it was just him at home.
Yeah, and he'll be more entertained with your older son too. Yeah, that's very cool. So obviously, like juggling all of that, the business, the family, and everything else does get very hectic. What do you find? What's your favorite way to switch off? Do you manage to switch off? Do you take time off? And if so, you know, what do you like to do? How do you switch off? Because I think that's a really important part of recharging our batteries. That I know I've certainly fallen in the trap of work, and then all the family stuff and, you know, hectic, and then back to work again without actually just taking some time out for myself. So I've had to kind of learn that. And so it's something that I often say to people, you know, what time, when are you taking time off? Just as a prompt, as a reminder. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? How do you?
Yeah, no, I think it's really important to do, isn't it? And it's really difficult because your phone is always there. Facebook is always waiting. You can turn on social media at any time. And I think I have really struggled at times to set proper boundaries. I've gone through phases where I've been quite good at it. But I've also had phases where I found myself just working and I don't quite know why. And you think, I don't need to do this right now. You know, it's the evening. But I think when you're in the stage of life that I'm in with small children, like your time is not your own a lot of the time. So I often find, you know, when the kids go to sleep in the evening, my husband works several evenings in the week usually. So it's just me in the house and the kids are asleep, and it's very, very tempting to actually just carry on. But I think if you keep doing that over the long term, you just lose your enthusiasm for it, you lose your passion for it, and you start to get that burnt out feeling. And obviously, as someone who's been through burnout, and in some ways, you know, I've had this debate with myself: do I still have energy issues? Am I a low energy person? Because I know for several years after I had burnout, I really did feel like I couldn't do a full-time job. I couldn't, you know, do all these things. Whereas since I've had my kids, I look after them, you know, most days. I work as well, sometimes 15 hours in a day I've managed to work, and you just kind of think that's a way of doing life. Which in a sense it plays to my strengths. I probably couldn't do that if I had to go out to an office. It like really suits me to be in the home environment. That really, really helps me with a lot of health stuff. But at the same time, I think it's using that time and saying, actually, this is my time, but work is not the only thing that I do. And I think we can fall into that trap, can't we, of just being like, well, it's actually easier to just work a bit more because nothing is ever really finished, is it? So it's easier to carry on working rather than have that thought of like, what should I be doing right now? So that's something that I've always wanted to cultivate. So I've got stuff that I like to do at home. I like to do kind of Pilates and yoga at home. I love to play the piano. I wish I was better at it, but you know, it's something that I'm working on. I think sometimes when you've just been surrounded by the kids all day, especially, you know, when they start talking, because babies are kind of, they just sit there and look at you quite a lot, don't they? You can get on with other stuff, or you can talk to them and they don't really talk back. But the other day, my elder son, he loves dinosaurs. He talked to me 20 minutes straight without drawing a breath, all about dinosaurs. In the end, I was like, right, you need to have some quiet time. You must go and sit over there. No,
Mummy needs a break.
Mummy just needs to lie down. So I think it's making sure that actually sometimes, because I am an introvert, if I've had a day like that with him where he's just been like da, 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 all day, it's okay for me to just sit down in the corner and just turn on the TV and switch my brain off. And sometimes it's knowing what you need, whereas sometimes going out or going for a walk or, you know, any of those things, they can actually be quite recharging. And it's quite responsive to how I'm feeling and what I feel like I need. Sometimes I need people, and sometimes I just need like white noise.
Yeah. So I know sometimes I'm like, okay, my son's similar, but instead of dinosaurs, it's Hot Wheels, it's cars, obsessed with cars. And sometimes when my husband comes, I'm like, I just got to go away, got to go upstairs, hide in the bedroom for half an hour. Quiet time. Yeah, I think I'm an introvert as well. So I think that's a key part of just managing that energy flow, isn't it? And listening to yourself or listening to the signs of your body of what it really needs. And taking
definitely. Because I think sometimes too much time alone, even as an introvert, you know, there's a point at which actually it's good for us to go out and just get recharged by other people. And so I'm always quite aware of like how much social time have I had. So this week has been like a really funny one because my son started school in September for the first time, and I've been amazed like how much you see the same parents like 10 times a week because you're all doing the school run.
Drop off and
and like I've not had something in my life like that for a really long time where it's the same stuff every day. But then my son has been ill this week. He's had a vomiting bug, poor boy, and he's been really unwell with it. And so he's had to be off the whole 5 days. And I feel like, gosh, I've barely seen anyone, you know, and all the places that we normally go, we haven't been going. So like I've been really aware of how much my daily routine, it supports that need to see people and that need to kind of have that social contact with people, so that then I can go and live my introvert life at home quite contentedly, getting on with my work and engaging with people online. I think it's really important to have both. That's one of the things that I've learned. Having
that balance, right? Yeah, absolutely. Also, I was wondering, I mean, it sounds like you've been in business for a few years now, and that kind of entrepreneurial journey, you know, we often say it's like an emotional roller coaster. There's ups and downs and so on. And for a lot of time, a lot of people's success can be a long time coming, and maybe people who are listening to this might be a few months or even a year or two in and still trying to get to that kind of level of success that they're chasing. You know, how did you find that? How long did it take for you to feel like it was financially worthwhile and that you were kind of making progress? How long did that take for you?
Well, so I started my business back in 2015, so I've been going about 3.5 years, and it was funny, like, and I'm going to be talking about this a lot more in my podcast in the next few months. But my first year, I actually got quite a few clients quite easily. I had like my biggest selling month, I think, after about 9 months. I had a 4K month, and I was like, oh my gosh, if it's going to be this easy, then like this is just going to be amazing. But then almost immediately after that, and I think mindset came into this because it freaked me out how well it was going. And I just found actually that I'd had a major case of like low hanging fruit. And so there had been clients that came to me quite easily, but then it was working out what my actual lead generation strategy was going to be. So then it felt like in the second year of my business, things just kind of stalled for a bit. And yeah, that was quite a shock at the time, but it was also, you know, I think somewhere inside me went, oh, I knew that would happen. So, you know, I knew this was all too good to be
Too good to be true.
So, I think from then it was kind of rethinking things, and that all happened at around the time that we were having our second baby. And so I was thinking about maternity leave, what was I going to do? And so I started a subscription mastermind group that ran for 6 months, and that's been something that I have run consistently back to back for the last 2 years, and that's really been a massive game changer for me in my business, because I started at a really small level, not charging very much, but I've had a consistent income in my business for 2 years, so I haven't gone a single month without having something coming in. And it's got to the point now where because that group has been really well established, I've been able to make really good relationships with the women that I've worked with. It's kind of helped me to build a broader network on my social media, and so now I'm able to kind of have several levels in my business at the same time, and that's been a really, really exciting thing. So I feel like I'm now at the point, kind of 3.5 years in, where it's starting to be something which, you know, it's more than equivalent to what I used to earn when I worked in corporate. But that it didn't happen overnight, and I think there were major bumps on the road. You know, if you'd have asked me 2 years ago,
you know, it is and that's how it is for everybody.
But I think the biggest thing I've learned through it is that there is no rush. Like, it's not a race. You don't win a prize for finishing first. And it doesn't, you can look around you and just feel like everyone else is so established and they really know what they're doing and they've got so much more money coming in. It doesn't matter. Like, decide what money you want. Like, decide on what you want to offer, find an audience, build stuff that they want to buy, and just let it all happen at the time that it's supposed to happen. I think so often we just want to rush to the finish line, but you learn such great lessons along the journey. You just really don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah, that's good advice. Thank you, Jessica. That's awesome. So in some of those kind of like the tougher times on that journey, what would you say, what has sustained you? Like, what's kept you going? It sounds like you've got quite a strong vision for where you're going. I'm sure that's one of the things. Is there anything else you could share, like, that sustained you?
Yeah, sure. So, and just on that subject, some of my clients this year have had really difficult times, and you know, we've had more than one conversation in our Facebook group where they've just been like, I want to quit my business. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I want to quit my business usually around 3 times a year. I just decide I'm completely done. I hate it. I'm too exhausted. I've had enough. There's something in me. And I think this is how you know you're an entrepreneur, because I take a bit of time out, even just go to bed and wake up the next morning feeling rejuvenated. And I think always have like an escape clause. Always think, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to quit everything and I'm done. And then probably 12 hours later, you'll just be like, I want to keep going. Actually, I love this. Because when we're not resting, well, exactly, the ideas never stop. And you know, I think if you've started building a business, even when it's really hard, you have that spark. And for me, I've had a really supportive husband through the whole process. So even at a point where my business made a loss, when it really felt like we were worse off because I was doing this business, and it would have made every sense in the world to just cut and run. He knew that I wasn't ready to do that, and he didn't put pressure on me to, and he was very, very supportive. That's
wonderful. Yeah.
So we were able to just keep our family going on his income, which isn't great. He's a church minister, so you know, we're very good at scrimping and saving. So the fact that my business is now kind of pulling its own weight, that really does make things a lot easier. But I think just keeping that bigger picture, doing the sums and being like, okay, so I might only have $100 coming in this month. What am I going to do with that money? How am I going to make sure that there's always more coming in than there is going out? Because sometimes you do have to scale things right back down, but it's possible to do. You can usually run, you know, a service-based coaching business for less than $100 a month if you need to.
Yeah, just simplifying everything. Yeah, absolutely. And how would you say, like, the entrepreneurial journey, how would you say it shaped you? Like, how are you different now to how you were when you first started?
Oh, that's a great question. I honestly feel like I've discovered a side of myself I just never really understood before. And I think I felt like I wasn't quite right for the corporate world and just never quite fitted in. And it annoyed me that I was always trying to be like the same as everyone else. I am quite different. I am quite unique, and I like to do my own thing at my own pace, under my own terms. And so for me, being my own boss is the best thing ever. I was told in several jobs, you're working too quickly. You need to slow it down, even if that means that you just have to do nothing for the rest of the day, because other people won't like it if you outshine them. And I just love that now I'm doing what I do. I can outshine everyone if I feel like it, or I can go really, really slow if I need to, because that's what life is like at the moment. And so just getting away from that has been such a good thing for me, because I think people like me will never flourish in that kind of corporate environment where it's all about being the same. It's all about showing up and putting the hours in and being visibly working hard, whether you achieve anything or not. I'm completely the opposite. I like to earn as much as I can in my business, working as few hours as I possibly can, not because I don't like it or because I'm trying to cut corners, but just because that, to me, that's true productivity. And I think that's how I want to do things.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can go off and enjoy the rest of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And make time for family and not have to kind of always be on a train with 100 other people just thinking, oh, I hate my life. I think that's how I used to feel when I was in corporate. I didn't enjoy it at all. Whereas now I feel like just being able to make my own choices is just, it's given me so much confidence and so much strength. And so I have this resilience now. And I think partly it's having kids as well, because you have to be pretty tough at times, don't you? When the baby wants to get up for the 10th time in the night and you're just like, I don't really want to do this, but you have to. And so part of you just, you find that grit and that determination that you need. I think that's the two things together have been such a wonderful thing for me in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's such an amazing journey, isn't it? I think the whole, parenthood and entrepreneurial journey, it's, massive. So if you could kind of go right back to when you first started, what do you wish you'd known then? So what, if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself then?
I think I tell myself, like, it may take longer than you think it will. But don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of success, but also don't be afraid of failure. You'll experience both. Some days you'll feel both of those so hugely, but just always look for the thing that you can learn. Always just be ready to have that calm moment at the end where you're like, okay, plan A did not work, so what are we going to do instead? I think it's that ability to regroup that is so helpful as an entrepreneur. And I think we can kind of feel like, oh, I've messed it up, I have to quit my business. And it's like, calm down. There's always a way through. There's a way to solve almost every problem. And if you tap into that part of yourself, you'll find that coming to you. And I think that's the resilience that you get as an entrepreneur. You just get used to taking the knocks and they stop bothering you because you're like, this will just be old news tomorrow, so who cares?
Yeah, and you won't even remember, like a year from now, you won't even remember that stuff. So.
Definitely. And I think sometimes the biggest things we do are the most scary. But just feeling like you're on the edge of a precipice does not mean to say that you're about to have a big disaster. Some of the biggest changes that I've made in my business have been around changing up my business model. And it's risky because you just think, but it's worked so well up to now, why change everything? But I think sometimes to go up a level, you need to change everything. And it's getting comfortable with that and not getting too set in your ways about, oh, but I always do it like this, I can't change it. Like you can change all kinds of stuff, and you should be flexible in the way that you run your business. So
and if it doesn't work, choose again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. And what would you say kind of really drives you? Is there a bigger why to your business? Like what really kind of gets you excited about it?
I think I love that it's up to me to decide how hard to push it. So if I want to kind of take things really slow. So over the summer, I wasn't really able to put in normal working days at all. Everything that I was doing was sort of crammed into the evenings or nap times. And I really don't like to work like that. And so it gave me that kind of, oh, I'm just not going to do it like this in the autumn. But I think at the same time, I'm someone who has like had to quit their 9-to-5 corporate job and full-time work, and felt, I really didn't feel at that point in my life like it was possible for me to work. I really didn't know what my life was going to be like. And I worried that actually I would be chronically ill for the rest of my life. So for me to have found something where I feel like I can just sparkle away, and it really works for me to work like this, and to be able to do that and sort of out earn what I was earning when I was in corporate, I just feel really fulfilled by that. It's almost like just doing things on your terms. It's so powerful for me, because I think if you felt any kind of restriction on you, that's, because health stuff is outside your control. You can get angry with yourself, you can push yourself harder, but you cannot make yourself well when you're not well. And so I think for me, just finding a way of doing doing my work so I can actually use the skills and the experience that I have to help other people, but also do it in a way which just really works for me and my family. I've been really, really thankful for that.
That is awesome. Thank you. That's great. I mentioned to you earlier, one of my favourite quotes is the Gandhi quote, be the change that you want to see in the world. I'd love to hear what the changes that you would love to see in the world, if there is one.
Well, I think as I sort of get older, and now I've got 2 kids, I see so many women who are sort of my age, late 30s, mid to late 30s, and kind of in a situation where the fact that they've had kids really changes their employability in the corporate workplace. I love that being an entrepreneur just means that you can have children and it doesn't take away from your ability to have a brain and be able to do stuff. It makes me really frustrated that women get judged in corporate and they're expected to put in these crazy hours which do not fit with children. And I had so many friends where we used to live when my first son was born, who were in corporate jobs and used to have to take most of their annual leave as sick days to look after their kids when they got ill. And I really feel passionate that the change I would like to see is just women with children being valued and, not being treated like you've had a baby, so you're de-skilled. So, you can't do a full job. So there's no time. Women have so many skills that they bring to the workplace. They're such an asset to the workplace. And yes, it's tricky that they have children and that means they go off for a while and they come back again and then they've got increased family responsibilities. But I think women have so much to offer. And I'm really, really passionate about female entrepreneurs because I just feel like it's a way of keeping women relevant, doing life in a way which doesn't take away from their need to be there for their kids. Because we don't all want to put our kids in childcare 5 days a week and never see them. That's not good for anyone, really. So I think it's about valuing women and seeing the contribution they can make to society, whether it's mothers, through their relationships, through doing the work that they do. I think it's such a missed opportunity when that isn't taken full advantage of.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there are so many amazing female role models now that we can look at, online and also in real life. Women who are doing that, who are juggling family and business and making it all work and creating a great income, often, full-time or more than full-time income with just part-time hours. So they've got time with their kids and they're using, their skills and their brain and developing, like maybe expressing their creativity or whatever it might be. Without that compromise. So, yeah,
definitely. I'm a both and sort of person. I don't think you should have to choose one or the other. I like to have everything, and I think everyone should. And it's really easy to throw it in there and say, "Oh, everyone can just have it all," and it all comes at a cost, doesn't it? And it's a constant balance. And I don't get it right. I often get it wrong, and I think, "Gosh, I'm just so tired because I'm overworking," or I haven't done this project properly because I haven't had time to invest in it behind the scenes. So, it's not always like, oh, hooray, I've made these choices to run my own business and now I never have any problems and my kids never get ill and I'm never tired. Like, those things happen all the time and it's constant. But at the same time, I see that I'm able to just do my work in a way that I wouldn't if I was in a corporate career.
Yeah, and just having that flexibility. Yeah, absolutely. So tell us, what's next for you, Jessica? What's happening next?
Oh, yeah. So I set up a podcast earlier this year. It's called the Business Club for Grown-Ups podcast. It has the same name as my membership program, which I started over the summer. So just kind of keeping going with both of those. I've recently, like I was saying before, I've recently established more levels in my business. So there's options of how people can work with me, which is something I'm really excited about because it feels like you're not just always pushing people towards whatever you happen to be launching at the time. When you speak to people, you can actually tailor what you offer based on what they're looking for in their circumstances. So yeah, just really continuing to develop those things. First on the list is really updating my website to reflect all of these levels that I'm building into my business, because I know what I'm offering, but at the moment it's all doing sales without a sales page and stuff like that, which is brilliant, and it's really good to prove to yourself that you can do it. But I think my website needs to really reflect what I'm doing in my business. So all of these things should be fixed in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I think. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a fabulous copywriter on board who's going to help you with all of that. So
yeah, my graphics lady has been sending me images today, which I'm just like, oh, they look so nice, hooray. So yeah, that's exactly what I pay her for, because I cannot find pictures like that. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and people that's the thing, isn't it? People have gifts in different areas. And the temptation, I think, often as a business owner is to think, I have to do everything. I have to do the web design, I have to do like all of it. And actually that's probably not your skill set. You know, it's finding out what you're really great at. Maybe that's the contact with clients,
Mm.
coaching, or whatever it is for different people.
Yeah,
Being
and it's really
afraid.
hard in the early stages, isn't it, when actually the budget isn't there to outsource a lot of these things. And I did a podcast episode recently about running your business on a shoestring, and why actually there's a time when we just got to stop doing that, because we start our business like that, and then we get stuck in this startup mode. And there comes a point where you just need to say, that's not where we are anymore. We're going to have to actually start to run this business like a grown up. And that's kind of my whole business philosophy. It's stepping into that place where you're ready to make really scary decisions sometimes, but do the thing that needs doing in order to grow the business.
Yeah, that's cool. I listened to Tim Ferriss' podcast recently with Chase Jarvis, and he was talking about how he likes to know. So, for example, he did some of his own editing when he first started his podcast because he wanted to know how it all worked. And kind of once he'd done that, then he was able to hand it over to someone and really kind of know how it would work and help direct that person more effectively, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
and it's helpful to have that insight, isn't it, and know what it's going. But it's that point at which you just need to stop being in control of everything. And I'm going through that in my own business at the moment, just wanting to be like, but I know how to do that, I don't want someone else to letting go is so hard to do, but actually that's what we need to do, and we up level.
Yeah, that is so cool. Wonderful. Thank you. Now, where can people find you online if they'd like to find out more about what you do and your offerings? Where's the best place to find you?
So I have a website, jessicafearnley.com. On that website, I have a little quiz called "What stage is my business at?" which, whatever stage of business you are, it's got some questions that you can answer, and it will give you like a verdict of kind of what stage your business is at, and some recommendations on how to get yourself up to the next stage. It's got like the pros and cons of each of the business stages. I've got 4 that I talk to people about, and then how to make the most of the stage you're at, and how to have your eye on the next one and be building your business so that you get up to the next stage.
That sounds interesting. And it's Jessica Fearnley, and Fearnley is Fearnley. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Awesome. And I'll post that with underneath.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, and the quiz is just right there on the homepage. It's the first thing that you see when you get there. So
wonderful. And then final question, just if you've got any practical tips or advice for women entrepreneurs who are just juggling business and babies right now, anything else that occurs to you that you want to pass on?
I think it's a really important thing to make sure that you've got enough time where you don't have kids running around, where you can actually properly focus, and to use that focus to go for one goal. If that's all you can do, get one thing done. Because for me, when I started to do that in my business, that's when I went from having all these big ideas and creating like a ton of opt-ins and trying to do all the social media stuff. When I just thought, what is the goal? What am I selling? What will actually make a difference to my business? What will start to bring money in? I had one core program, and I've run that program for 2 years and built it along the way. I think if you can just focus on one thing that will bring in money to your business, whatever stage you're at, whatever's going on. So often we do the website instead of selling, we create another opt-in instead of selling, because it's good to build your list. And actually at the moment in my business, I'm making more money than I ever have. My list is literally 133 people. That is not needed to make money in your business. We hear all these people say to us all the time, you need to have a list, the money's in your list. Actually, things change all the time. Everyone's business is unique. It's about finding out who your audience are and finding out what they need from you. That might be regular emails, or it might just be a Facebook group or social media posts, or just individual talking to people and asking them what they're looking for. But find one thing that will have a big impact on your business. Do that thing and drown out everything else. It can wait until your kids are older. It really, really can. So I think that would be my number one tip. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to speak with you, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future and see what else is going on for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be in touch again soon with more business and babies. Thank you.